The little village of Quilty on the coast of County Clare has changed very little in the last 60 years. It was then nothing more than a collection of small cottages clinging to the cliffs that overlooked the Atlantic, that Atlantic from which the people of Quilty drew their precarious livelihood. They had few luxuries in those days, and even the essentials were often in short supply. The menfolk were mostly fishermen, who daily risked their lives on the ocean in their lightly built canoes. Those who remained on land still lived by the sea, collecting the seaweed that was cast up on the rocky shore and spreading it out to dry. These people who lacked for so many things found one privation especially hard to bear. Their village had no church, and there seemed no prospect that it ever would have one, since they lacked the means for even the humblest structure. But that was before the day of the great storm, October the 7th, 1907, when the gales lashed the sea to fury and drove the French ship Léon XIII to its destruction. In his neat little whitewashed cottage, Michael McInerney, Quilty's oldest inhabitant, remembers that day very well.
That French ship was going to Limerick with a cargo of wheat. And the night turned bad, and she missed them out of the Shannon, the river Shannon below. And she came on the northern side of Dufed behind. She came on the Clare side of it, and all along Heather by the cliffs, all along Heather, around Mutton Island, around them two rocks that you see outside there.
Many ships have been wrecked on these reefs, including, it said, some of the proud galleons of the Spanish Armada. On that October day in 1907, people standing on the shore could see the latest victim of the reef being pounded to pieces by the waves, the sailors clearly visible on the tilting deck of the ship.
Father Standing came down the following day, and he went around to the fishermen, and of course he wasn't there very years ago at that time. But it came down a little bit, the shores reduced back a bit. And he came down, the canoes went out, he ordered them out, and they went out.
Were you in one of the canoes?
I was, Father, I was in one of the canoes.
Was the sea very high?
So was high outside, but well, we went out to one high, out from the bay, when the tide got a bit low. When the tide is out here below, there is no breaker at all there, hardly. But outside, the reef rocks is running all together, where the ship was.
Were the people on shore afraid that the fishermen might be killed going out?
There was inside, and the shore was packed up with women and men and everybody, strangers and all was there. Around the parish they were out, coming down looking at the ship. So they went out all right, and they left the ship in.
Could you see the Frenchmen on the ship from...
Oh, you could, Father, you could see them on the ship.
Were they shouting...
There was a broadener bubble standing up. They couldn't go any other part of it.
What happened to the canoes on the way out? Any accidents with them?
There was one of them capsized.
Were the men injured in it?
No, they were only put in the water. They was taken again. They weren't there 10 minutes when they was taken. Their comrades was abroad. Only for that they'd be drowned. Because some of them had no swim.
I know. Well then, how did you get out to the reef itself?
How did we get out to the reef? Out by canoes. So we couldn't go out any other way.
Were you able to get right up to the boat?
Oh, no, Father, within 200-300 yards of it. How could you get up near the boat? If we got near the boat, the sailors needn't ever go swimming in, try to make their life out. Oh, no. About 300 yards from where the canoes was to the ship.
So the Frenchmen, they swam into the canoes?
Swam in around to just within a few yards of the canoes, and they took them then on board. And to one tell you stick it a winter's day in the month of October to stick the water.
The Quilty rescue was accomplished without the loss of a single life, and it received, naturally, widespread publicity. A public subscription fund for the brave rescuers was suggested, but the people of Quilty preferred to use the money for the building of a church for their village. Collections were made in Clare and throughout the whole country, and the foundation stone was laid in July 1909. The church was finished and opened with a mission in the autumn of 1911. Over the door was placed a stone tablet inscribed with the names of the men who took part in the rescue operation. What did the Frenchmen do when they got home? Did they show any thanks for their...
I didn't hear that. We didn't get nothing out of them anyway. Even in the middle, we didn't get out of them.
Is that right?
Not one threepenny bit. Just small enough.
How many men went out on the rescue in the end?
Well, there was 4 canoes altogether there. There was 9, 10, 11, 12 men. 12 men. And they had one canoe go out in the evening, and they were 3 in the morning.
I see a big list outside the door of the church.
Half of them weren't in it. Half of them weren't in it.
And how did they get their names put up?
I'll tell you that. They had a committee below here in one of the houses. 3 or 4 of those fishermen and a few more strangers, and thinking that they get something out of the French for saving them. Everyone was going in, put down my name, I was in the rescue, put down my name. So half of them wasn't there. That's the word them was there. No.
Well, tell me, how was the church built then? How did you come to get the money together for the church?
Well, I got it from America, some of it, to all Ireland they sent it there. Only for that there'd be no church there, maybe. They got the right thing when they got the church. Better than the money being gone and the church is there.
Today, life in Quilty goes on much the same as it did 60 years ago. Unhurried, unspectacular. But here and there, the observant visitor may come across something that stirs memories of Quilty's day of glory. There's the unusual name of the local hall, called after the French ship, Léon Treize. And there's the Sanctus bell on the steps of the altar in the little church, which is none other than the ship's bell of the Léon Treize, the only thing that was salvaged from the wreck. Each Sunday as it sounds at Mass, the older people in the congregation are reminded of the day when they first heard it, clanging out its call for help across the raging Atlantic. And they remember the storm to which they owe their present church, the ill wind that blew them nothing but good.